Hello random ladies and gents, and welcome once again to Jurassic June. We're here again with another debunk video, with the subject today being... Creation Adventure Team. Alright, let me address this before I explain. This film show thingy is very religious, particularly focusing on the Christian faith, so I want to be clear before I go into this when I say that I'm not trying to insult or condemn Christians for their beliefs in this video. I'm just stating facts, addressing fallacies, and demolishing some rhetoric that may misinform people while making some jokes along the way. That said, alright, let's take this from the top. So, Creation Adventure Team is a show made for kids to debunk evolution and enforce the idea of creationism, which is that the world and the life forms on it were created like in Genesis, and that various aspects of biology, mainly evolution, because it goes against the Bible. Or so they say. So, without further ado, let's get started.
If you like adventure, then join our team exploring mysteries few have seen. Get your hiking boots and your backpack too. Join us in our search for truth.
So that's how we're starting this, huh? Okay then.
A Jurassic Ark Mystery. Dinosaurs. The real story begins.
It couldn't be farther from the truth. So the show starts out with the knight fighting whatever that deformed hellspawn is. Seriously, I can't tell if that's a Suchomimus or a Baryonyx. For heaven's sake, the Fallen Kingdom Baryonyx had more distinguishing features than this.
Your fire doth not scare one such as I
I am king over the proud.
Never mind, it's Irritator. But it turns out the whole thing was just virtual reality being used by a random guy playing with his dinosaur friend. Ugh, that was virtual reality? SAO lied to us! So it's here that we meet the Creation Adventure Team. Ivan, his Barney reject friend Proto, and of course the star of the show, Buddy Davis. Before I go beyond this point, I would like to point out Buddy is by no means a paleontologist. All he has on his name is paleo artist. He has no credentials as a paleontologist, just paleo artist. No educational value there. Just want to be clear on that. Alright, moving on.
Now, some people say that so-called prehistoric creatures, such as dinosaurs, didn't live at the same time as man did.
They didn't.
Such creatures died out millions of years before man came around.
They did.
But how do they know this? I mean, were they there?
No, but were you there when God created the earth in 6 days, 5 minutes, 27.5 seconds, then rested?
No! Good! So shut up!
But the Bible gives us a completely different view of man's relationship with dinosaurs.
No, it does not. The Bible does not mention dinosaurs in any sort of fashion, despite what some may say, using examples like Leviathan, Behemoth, or dragons in general. There were not dinosaurs, they were creatures of myth. So after some random set of shenanigans, the Three Stooges, the Creation Adventure Team, head to their local museum to meet their old friend, Dr. Strawman. Dr. Tall. Alright, so for those of you who don't get the joke, a straw man is a fallacy in an argument created based on an erroneous and often biased impression or interpretation of an opponent, and is often used to refute an argument the opponent never makes, instead refuting a misrepresentation of said opponent. In this case, Dr. Tall is the know-it-all paleontologist who has no idea what he's talking about.
Hey, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Dr. Tall was a paleontologist friend of mine. Now, he believes that dinosaurs died out millions of years ago, way before man existed. But do you know that what he's been taught is not a fact? In fact, it's just a belief.
You mean like this?
Actually, I'm quite busy at the moment. I'm being interviewed for a special interest report on how the last of the dinosaurs died out. Very prestigious, actually.
The dinosaurs didn't die out prestigious at all. Evidence suggests that dinosaurs were in a slow decline due to volcanic activity and climate change. The asteroid just finished them off. Even then, who in their right mind says an asteroid is a prestigious way to go? Now, if he had said that the last of the dinosaurs themselves were prestigious, then he would have been onto something, since they actually were. with various families of dinosaurs producing their most impressive forms like Triceratops, Edmontosaurus annectens, and of course Tyrannosaurus rex.
The T-Rex actually roamed these actually they're called biblical reality glasses. Actually,
Oculus Rift has got some competition.
creating habit or change in climate could be a possibility.
Dinosaurs created day 6. Pterosaur created day 5.
Even a massive plague.
Mankind created day 6.
Constipation.
Uploading constipation file. Loading complete.
There's a hole in that theory.
What the f***?
Loading extinct files.
Whoa, wait a minute. Extinct files. What's this?
Actually, see, that's my point. I've not had an opportunity to actually examine these extinct files. And if I could have my...
Loading complete.
A creationist X-Files parody. Hooray!
There doesn't seem to be a clear understanding by science as to what happened to the dinosaurs. And yet, they're somehow certain that they died out 65 million years ago.
We know this based on the fossil record and radiometric dating, which in turn gives us a geological time frame and the ecological conditions within that time frame.
But Scaly, if it really happened that long ago, how can they be sure of anything? They weren't there.
Again with this not there fallacy. Just because we weren't there doesn't mean we can't know about it. We have evidence. Again, if that's the case, then you weren't there during your creation myth. So how can you be certain Genesis happened according to what was said in the Bible? Or within 6,000 years, like some creationists say.
Begin investigation. Extinct files. Inquiry 1. How and when did the dinosaurs die out?
Extinct file. Inquiry 1. How and when did the dinosaurs die out?
Non-avian dinosaurs were wiped out 65 to 66 million years ago by what is known as the KT event, or the Cretaceous Tertiary event. We aren't 100% sure what killed them off, though the scientific consensus at the moment is that volcanic eruptions caused changes in the environment and the ever-famous asteroid slammed into what is now the Gulf of Mexico, specifically the Yucatan Peninsula, caused a dust cloud to blot out the sun and caused the environment to change for the worse, killing off much of the plant and animal life as a result. Dinosaurs weren't the only animals affected. Pterosaurs, ocean reptiles, a vast diversity of other reptiles, early mammals, amphibians, fish, insects, etc. were all affected by this event, resulting in 60% of all life being wiped out. And just a side note, that wasn't even the worst extinction we've had. And no, the extinction event at play in the modern day isn't the worst either. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. Now that answers that question. Let's see what the Creation Adventure team has to say about this.
Science can't deal directly with the past because the past can't be observed.
Deflecting. Good move.
That's because they dig up bones in the present. In the present. Scientific facts have to be observable, testable, and repeatable. And scientists can't test and repeat dinosaurs.
Again, they defeat themselves here, saying you can't test or observe the past. If that's the case, you can't test or observe Genesis, and you can't test or observe God. Last time I checked. What we can do is observe the evidence left behind by that past, examine that evidence, and gain an understanding of what happened in said past. Not only that, but we can run tests to confirm how old the remains are, what exactly the remains are, and what do they represent. And then compare those findings with other works and the current consensus to see if it holds up. This is how science works.
But God, who's all-knowing, wrote the events of creation down for us in the Bible. It's the history book of the universe.
That's wrong in so many ways. The Bible is not the history book of the universe. That's like saying the Iliad or the Odyssey is the accurate depiction of Greek history. There are some historical elements in there, but other than that, it's still mythology. And if we're going into a biblical context, then according to the Bible, God did not write any chapters. The Bible has had many authors contextually speaking. The first 5 books are attributed to Moses, Psalms was written by David, wisdom books like Proverbs are attributed to King Solomon, and much of the New Testament is attributed to Paul and Peter. If you want to go beyond that, then various translations by different groups have affected the content and messages presented within that text.
Creation in 6 days. Corruption, sin and death. Catastrophe, global flood. Confusion, new languages. Christ, the Messiah.
Did you just skip the whole Old Testament?
Cross, death and resurrection. Consummation, new heaven and earth. You'll see that God tells us the major events of history that help us to understand the world.
The Bible does none of those things. A lot of historical events are missing from that text.
Including dinosaurs.
Nope.
That's ridiculous. For example, one moment. And back. Pretend for a moment that this represented the Bible, would you? This represents dinosaurs. Now, any reputable scientist would concur that you cannot fit what we now know of dinosaurs into the Bible. It simply doesn't work.
No reputable scientist will give you that dumbass explanation. Also, not all scientists are atheists.
Well, here, what about that?
Wait.
Oh, so the lid fit in the cup, so that means the Bible is correct. Are they trying to insult our intelligence?
I believe you don't understand where I'm trying to go with this. Perhaps we should speak about paleontology.
Oh Lord, here we go.
You don't start with the opinions of man and try to force it into the Bible. You do just the opposite.
Did he just say not to let the influences of man into a book written by man? That's funny. And about the Bible of all things.
You take the Bible, which is the history book of the universe, and use it to explain dinosaurs, and it makes sense of the evidence.
No! It absolutely does not! Does it explain Archosaurian evolution? Does it tell us where dinosaurs fit on that family tree? Does it explain where each dinosaur fits on their own respective family tree? Does it even explain how to classify a dinosaur? Or even mention what a dinosaur is? I'll give you a hint. The answer is no.
Many paleontologists now believe that the dinosaurs' survival instinct actually caused some of them to evolve feathers so they could fly.
Not survival instinct, natural selection caused some groups of dinosaurs to develop feathers for insulation and potentially display. Some ended up taking things a step further and developed flight feathers.
You see, many of the dinosaurs did not, in fact, go extinct, but simply evolved into birds.
This is the most correct thing they've said so far, and even then, it's technically not entirely accurate. Avian dinosaurs, which we consider birds, survived the mass extinction. However, non-avian dinosaurs, the dinosaurs we typically think of, didn't survive. These include dromaeosaurs, or raptor dinosaurs as they're popularly known. It's a common misconception that dromaeosaurs evolved into modern birds, so I'll cut the show some slack.
Birds?
Birds.
I love how they think this is such a mic drop moment when we have evidence for this, and how so many dinosaurs are known to be bird-like.
Dinosaurs never had the capacity to evolve into birds. Evolve into birds.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Dinosaurs never had the capacity to evolve into birds. Evolve into birds.
One more time so the audience can hear you.
Dinosaurs never had the capacity to evolve into birds. Evolve into birds.
The brain and internal organs of a bird and a reptile are completely different.
But that's a whole complicated issue in itself. The internal organs of animals can vary all across the board, even within their own classes. Crocodilians actually have similar brains and a respiratory system closer to that of a bird than, say, a Komodo dragon. Why is that? Because crocodiles and birds are archosaurs. Dinosaurs also happen to be archosaurs and share various anatomical traits to both birds and crocodilians. especially birds. As a matter of fact, we know that dinosaurs had similar brain shapes to both birds and crocodilians based on CT scans on the brain cases of various species of dinosaurs.
And scales can't turn into feathers.
That is false. There was a study done in 2017 regarding the origin of feathers that discovered feathers are actually, you guessed it, modified scales. I'll cut some slack again since this show was made a while back and this discovery was fairly recent.
No one's ever seen a change from one kind of animal into a completely different kind. It just doesn't happen. It just can't happen. What? What the fuck?
We have seen animals change in appearance and anatomy on several occasions, like elephant populations becoming tuskless due to poachers killing elephants with bigger tusks, which removes that trait from the gene pool. And it's not just out in the wild either. Even amongst domesticated animals, dogs, cats, cows, horses, all evolved thanks to selective breeding based on our needs and desires. We even have DNA and the fossil record to prove it if looking at a wolf and a bulldog wasn't enough.
Has anybody ever uncovered the intermediate stage, showing both scales and feathers?
Of course, this is excellent research on your part. This is a crucial element, by the way. It is what we call transitional forms or fossils. Many to think of, for example, the Archaeopteryx. Now, this was an earthbound feathered dinosaur.
You know what? I think I won't risk getting an aneurysm from sheer rage and just end the video for now. I will finish the other half of this video thingy later. Thank you if you're still with me on this march of mental suffering. The next part will be out next week, along with the final paleolog for this month that will finish off Jurassic June with a boom. That said, I wish you all a random day and a happy Jurassic June.